Hi everyone, it's Stephanie again, and I am back for season 7 of Married at First Sight. This time they are in Dallas. So for those of you guys who are new, my name is Stephanie Lee, and I'm a lifestyle mastery and relationship expert. I've been providing therapy for many years to all walks of life, but my passion is relationships. So last season, I decided to start doing reviews, one of the shows being Married at First Sight. This show is a phenomenal show. It's, a twist on modern day arranged marriages, and it really gets us talking about relationships. So my goal is to really help us change the way that we're watching things. A lot of times we watch these things for, entertainment, and some of it can be very applicable, but we're not kind of seeing it that way. So I love to kind of create the dialogue and pull things out to where we can apply them to ourselves and, most importantly, our own relationships, because our own relationships kind of define the energy of our lives. So what better way than to get entertained by watching a really cool show and then kind of talking about it and pulling things out and getting to know, who we are through what we're watching and how we identify. So if this is your first time, welcome. Please comment, please subscribe. I usually respond to everyone or as many people as I can and really get this dialogue going for Dallas. So with that being said, let's get started with the review. So if you don't know, they usually do a matchmaking special where they kind of, interview all these people and they narrow it down. I think this season there was like between 41 and 43,000 applicants, which is just astonishing for that one city. And I'm sure people came in from other cities, but what's being shown in that is that everyone is looking for love, and it's something that is not going to go away. Even though we can be, very cynical in our society about love and marriage, people are still looking for that connection, and they're willing to do whatever it takes. And out of all those people, there were only 3 couples chosen. So there's so many people out there looking for that connection and looking for more. And it was just really, really cool to see. And it was also cool to see, people come up with their non-negotiables, which I think is really important. What are your non-negotiables that you have to have or you absolutely cannot have? And it was just very cool to see that whole special. So I'll try to do a video about that matchmaking special, but let's just jump into the first episode. So the first episode took them from being chosen and, being called by the experts. We have Dr. Jessica, once again, we have Dr. Pepper Schwartz, and we also have Pastor Cal. And they come in and they do their thing and they kind of choose everyone based on where they think that people have the most synergy and compatibility for a long-term situation. There's always that miscellaneous percentage where you just don't know, and that really relies on that person. So I know a lot of times as we go through the season, we're watching and we're saying, oh, well, the experts should have known. Well, there's, we as people, as we know, we present ourselves like, your married self is not necessarily your first date self. You don't present yourself in the same way. So we have to just be a little patient with how we watch it and what we're expecting from people who kind of can't really account for that thing that they can't control, and that variable is that actual person and how they respond to these things. So they kind of come in, they do their calls, and they get these 3 couples going, and then we watch through the entire wedding and up until the first night. So it ends at them, kind of turning off the lights and going into the first night. So the 3 couples are Amber and Dave, Danielle and Bobby, and Mia and Tristan. So I will kick it off with, Danielle and Bobby. So Danielle is from Seattle originally, but she now lives in Dallas. Bobby's originally from Memphis, and he now lives in Dallas as well. Bobby is 27 and Danielle is 30. So one of Bobby's non-negotiables was he does not want anybody in their 30s. He wants somebody in their 20s and preferably a few years younger. But the experts really thought that him and Danielle would make a really, really good couple. So they called him and got his permission to kind of extend that gap. And his major thing, at first I didn't understand because they didn't really explain why his limitations were in that age range. But his major thing was he's not ready for kids yet, which is totally understandable. He's 27. Like, in man land, that's not really that old. I'm sorry, guys. But, most 27-year-old guys right now are not really looking to settle down. And those that are kind of looking for that first phase where you kind of just enjoy your spouse and just get to know each other in a different space and then kind of plan for the future ahead. So when he said that, it made complete sense to me. And luckily, Danielle, although she's 30, her thing is wanting to spend time with her husband, get to know him, experience themselves as a married couple, experience life together, and then, you know, move on and have children. So they both match up in the sense that they both want families. And they match up in the sense that they are very Southern, even though they're, you know, she's not originally from the South. She matches up in having a very Southern value system, and he is very Southern as well. You know, he's a very yes ma'am, by the book type of guy, very sweet. He seems very young to me. I don't know if it's because he looks very young, and I want you guys' opinion on that. She is a little more mature than him, not just by age, but I just feel like in experience. And I think, you know, women at that age tend to be a little more elevated in experience and desires than men, just because, you know, we're usually conditioned to be that way. So it's going to be interesting to see how they vibe. Bobby seems like a very serious guy, though. Like, he wants to be settled, and he, you know, has a great job, and he has a great home, and he's really looking for that. I just want to see how they work out together. One of the things that I noticed is when Danielle called her parents, there seems to be some sort of fractured relationship there. And I don't know what it is. But why that stuck out to me was their response when she said I was going to get married was just very lackluster. It was kind of like uncomfortable to watch. And she was like, well, you know, if they can come, you know, it would be great, but if they can't, I kind of have to just do my thing. And their response was like, well, we'll see, you know, we got to get on a plane. And so I was like, there's something there. And that's really important, because we don't marry just the other person. We marry their families. We marry some of the dysfunction that may be happening within their families that might seep into their behavior and their attitude and their mood. And it's really, really important. You know, a lot of people like to say, well, you know, it's not that big of a deal. Or some people will say, you know, as long it's just us against the world, which is so sweet and not accurate at all. Family plays a big role. So it was interesting to see how fractured in that moment I saw their dynamic, even though they did show up for the wedding, which was exciting. But even then, when, you know, she really behind the scenes was saying she really wants her family to show up and it's going to be hard to go through, but she was kind of very glacial about it. Like, you know, if it happens, like, she wants it to happen. When she was wedding dress shopping, her mom wasn't there. She was saying she wanted that to happen. So when her mom came in, like, I screamed. I was excited to see that. I was like, yes, they showed up for her. And she got misty, but she kind of didn't move. It was kind of like, I saw my mom last night. So there's something going on there that I really want to see. Because if we flip it to Bobby's family, they seem like they seem like a fireplace, like the warmest family. Everybody gets along. Him and his mom had this beautiful relationship. You know, when he was standing at the aisle, his mom got up and said, make sure you tell her she's beautiful. They have such a sweet relationship together, and you can see the vibe of that family has like really good energy, and they're very close-knit. And I think that will be very good for her. I feel like if I'm just future tripping right now and projecting, I feel like she will take onto that and adopt that in a way that she can't with her family right now. I'm literally at this point kind of making stuff up because this is just episode 1, but some things were a little glaring to me as I saw it. And I was like, okay, well, you know, hopefully they kind of welcome her in a way that she's missing. Because what she says is, you know, I knew Seattle wasn't going to be for me and I needed to come here. And so she identifies a lot, you know, with Southern values and with a certain type of system that she wasn't really raised with. She says she grew up in a very liberal family and all these things. So I feel like there's just something there that it has not worked for her, or she just needed to remove herself from. And so she might just slide into Bobby's family and it might just be like super golden for her. I'm not sure, but I kind of, right now, that's what I'll say. It was good to see them together. They have really good chemistry. I'd say 2 of the 3 couples have, well, I think all 3 couples have some form of chemistry, but definitely 2 of the 3 couples are really like flashing lights with the chemistry. And Danielle and Bobby are one of them. She's kind of like, listen, this is my husband now, so anything goes. You know, there isn't that reservation, because that's always the big thing. You know, are they going to kiss at the aisle? Are they going to have sex on their wedding night? And, you know, people argue about that throughout the season, the levels of intimacy, because yes, they're married. Yes, they went into this experiment, so they should know, my husband and I were talking about that, even just the kiss. And he was like, well, shutting him down is not necessarily the best thing. And I was like, but, it's still kind of a weird thing. So I really wouldn't judge the shutdown, because I didn't know you 32 minutes ago. So there's that whole thing, and Danielle and Bobby seem like down for the cause. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I would not be surprised if they're intimate either their first night of the wedding or if they are intimate very soon. So that's Danielle and Bobby. Mia and Tristan. So that's the second couple. Mia is she lives in Dallas. I think she was born and raised in Dallas. Her family's from the islands. So her mother is Jamaican and her dad is from Trinidad and Tobago. So she has a lot of culture back there, and she kind of springs it on her family. She doesn't even tell them that she's going through this experiment. She says, so basically I went through this experiment and I'm getting married in 10 days. And they responded the way that I thought that they would respond, the way that my family would respond, because my family's from the islands too, and there's like less flexibility with random things like this experiment. Like me now knowing, of course, the experiment isn't random, but like for people who are far removed from that or who would never do that, it seems very like, have you lost your mind? So she does get that from her family pretty much. And I think that I don't think she was surprised to get that. I mean, we all know our families. We know what they would say. I think she should have probably told them, but hey, maybe she didn't want them to pressure her into kind of second guessing herself too much. So they eventually get on board, and I really like her energy. She is, I forgot what she does, but she is heavy into faith. And I think she does some sort of sales, but I know she's heavy into faith. She has a Bible study, and she does something with aviation, I believe. And she is kind of looking for someone who will lead her spiritually and kind of be a leader in the household. And they can have, mutual goals that they work toward. And she's kind of looking for the next phase of her life, and she's ready for that. The man that she is matched with is Tristan. So Tristan is this guy, I believe he's about 29. Don't quote me on that, but I believe he's about 29. And he played college ball and professional ball for a while, but he got hurt. And so he ended up, turning his life around from the whole athlete thing, and then went into creating these businesses for tutoring kids, which is like such a great and, notable thing to do. I think it takes a special type of person to just do anything with children. So the fact that he kind of created a business focusing on like influencing the next generations is a really beautiful thing. And I think that takes a special type of man, just because, there is a heavy there's a heavy presence of female influence when it comes to schools and social work and therapy and stuff like that. Not so much on the male side. So it's really cool to see him kind of do that. He's very close to his family. He seems very ready to settle down. He's been looking for it. He's very faith-based as well. They both are kind of like, if this person is, not somebody of faith, I could never even consider being with them. So you can see that it's very important to them. He has a Bible study as well as she. So they match in a lot of that way. She, I think, is looking for someone who can take the lead. He seems to be somebody who is of the lead. I'll be honest, the one thing that really rubbed me the wrong way about Tristan was when asked about what he wanted, he said that he did not want someone who was any hue darker than he was. So where that's problematic is, let's say it's kind of like that, and this happens in a lot of cultures. So this is like almost like another topic for another video, but there's a lot of like inner culture, prejudice that happens with certain cultures. And a lot of times it kind of removes you from the opportunities to meet someone who is for you. So it's almost like saying, hey, I don't prefer any like dark-haired girls. Anybody who's dark-haired, do not bring her my way. It's kind of limiting yourself in a very ignorant way. We're allowed to have preferences. You might want somebody who's 6 feet tall, but the man who would treat you the greatest might be 5'9", and you really have to learn to check yourself about that and not let that kind of take over the entire vision of what you're looking for and who you're looking for. And despite the preferences, because we all have them, I think whether it was I don't want somebody lighter, or I don't want somebody darker, or I don't want somebody this or that, it is showing some sort of self-hatred in a way, and it's projecting more what you think about yourself and what you value more than the other person. So that kind of rubs me the wrong way, and it kind of rubbed Pastor Cal the wrong way too, because I think he kind of wrote him off just a little bit after that. He kind of mentioned a comment when they were talking about him. It just was very like, and I feel like some of you guys will know what I'm talking about, and some of you guys might say, what's the big deal? But that's why I'm giving examples as to why that doesn't always work. Like, we have to like go beyond the surface sometimes. And I'm not saying surface isn't important, because it is, but we have to be aware of where these preferences may be stemming from and how they can impact our lives and how they've already impacted our lives and relationships. Some of our preferences might be why we're not in a relationship, because we're expecting this thing or this person and it has to show up like this. And if it doesn't, I don't want it. And then you end up single. So it's kind of like, it's just something to be aware of. So that's kind of my 2 cents with Tristan and Mia in terms of like what I think about them separately. Together, I think that they will be a pretty good unit once they kind of get over themselves. So I say that because Mia, he's sitting here not thinking that she will, vibe with him, or he doesn't know how she feels, and she turns her face for the first kiss. And so he feels like, oh, I don't, she's so beautiful, I want her, but I don't know if she wants me. And she, coming from an island background, I understand she's just more reserved. You're just raised to be that way. So there's like a lot of, even if you wanted to do it, you're kind of like, should I not? I wasn't, so she kind of sticks to what works for her, and she doesn't kiss him. But on the flip side, her background thinking that comes out in the confessional is that, is he attracted to me? Am I going to be able to measure up? And, does he think I'm beautiful? And all of these things. And it's just crazy to watch how both of them are having these high levels of insecurity instead of just being themselves. So this is another thing that's just really important if you're single, or even if you're married, because sometimes we get married and we still carry some of this insecurity or some of these character defects into our relationships, and they become problematic. Work on those insecurities. Work on those things that you feel like may be getting in the way. Talk to someone who may be able to help you, see those things and overcome, because they don't go away because you get married. So we're sitting here watching them, and kind of as they're going through the matchmaking, you see where they might fall short, you see where they excel, and it's like, the goal is, oh, I just want to be chosen to get this experience going, this experiment going, because I want to be married. And now you've gotten it. If that's the trophy or golden ticket, you've gotten it, and you can't even enjoy it because you're so wrapped up in your head about whatever thing you've been dragging with you. So it's really important, whatever stuff is going on with you, start chipping away at that, because it doesn't go away overnight. And you might know it. If I said, think of something that you feel like has gotten in the way of relationships or impacts the relationship that you have right now negatively, pretty sure you guys would probably know what that is. So reach out to someone, or talk to someone, or start to just chip away at it, because it gets in the way. I felt like last night, Mia and Tristan, although they had fun and they were laughing, I don't think they really enjoyed themselves to the extent of how they could have, because they both were like in this pendulum of wondering all these things that really can't be answered. And that really wasn't a problem, because you'll hear both of them find each other very attractive. So I wish there could have just been that moment of either exchange of expressing that, or they could have just been a little more settled and enjoyed that time. So we will watch Mia and Tristan. I think they have good potential, but we weren't really able to see the extent of that. Her sister bothered me last night, because her sister's timing is like piss poor in terms of addressing things. Her sister's not on board for this experiment, and her sister brings it up to her in the limo on her way to the bachelorette party, which was like, I get it. you're a family member, you're super protective. I have those family members. I am that family member. I just think there's a better time to express those things because you pretty much like ruin the experience of the person. And you just have to be cognizant of that. And if you don't choose the right time, people tend to be defensive and it's a waste of time anyways. So even kind of meeting Tristan, and after the wedding, some of the people during the reception went to the bride, went to the groom on the opposite sides and kind of introduced themselves and talked about stuff. She was kind of like nasty. And I think I get what she was saying, and I agree with the overall message. I just think the delivery could have been better and the timing could have been better, because it's just like, you kind of just present yourself as a jerk, and instead of presenting yourself as someone who is protective of your sister and is not going to play any games. I totally get that. I just think there are ways to be more effective in that. So that is Mia and Tristan. I'm excited to see kind of how they'll develop as well, and they have great backgrounds, so we'll see where they go. And really, I think the next episode, I don't watch the upcoming episodes because I don't want them to kind of, ruin my reviews. So I kind of just, when the episode is done, I turn it off. But if the next episode is the honeymoon, which I assumed it would be, I'm looking forward to them like just relaxing and getting to know each other, having honest conversation and like being more secure in themselves. So that's Mia and Tristan. The last couple is Amber and Dave. So Amber and Dave are the elders, and I'm not calling them old because I'm around that same age. So I love that I think they're like the oldest that has been cast. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. It's season 7. But what I do know is that a lot of times it's like 20-somethings or very early 30-somethings. I don't think we've gotten close to 35. So, and I think a lot of people were saying that last season, so they followed that. And even Pastor Cal said, I'm glad to see like an older guy. So Dave is 37. Amber is 36, and they match them together. Amber gives me, Dallas cowboy cheerleader. She looks very Dallas to me. And she's very sweet. She's very regimented. One of the things she said was, it's time to get married. I like structure. Or she said something like, I'm ready to get married because I like structure. And I was like, oh God, like that. That can't be the answer. That let me know she's very regimented. Things need to happen at a certain time. And Dave seems a little more laissez-faire. He has a great group of friends. He's watched his friends from college, get married, have children. He wants to bring somebody into that great circle of friends that could just kind of fit in, enjoy life. They're both obviously at the place where they want to bring somebody else into their lives and have, a family at some point. Amber screams baby. the whole episode, I felt like every few seconds was like a baby, baby, baby. And I get it, especially women as we get older, and whether we want to blame it on society or our family or even ourselves, the clock ticks loudly, and it is what it is. We can make the choice for ourselves to turn that volume down and decide to do what we want to do for ourselves. But as a whole, society still has the knob on 10 with that. And Amber is very reflective of that, almost to a fault, because, I totally understand where she was coming from. But after a while, I was like, okay, you gotta like take a chill pill, because even though you are in this experiment, you want kids, you're with someone who wants kids as well. Day one is not trying for a baby. So I think that if I could like whisper in her ear, I would just say, relax, enjoy it. Because when the baby comes, he or she is here forever. But you really want to like get to know this person and see if there's a real relationship there that can stand the test of like a successful marriage and a baby. And regardless of how rushed this experience is and how matched they are, the pheromone of the desperation that comes with, I need a baby right this second, which is what I keep getting from her, is unattractive. Because it's just, you just can't do it like that. So that's what I kept getting from her. I think that she's great. I think that she is just really hard on herself, and, it comes off as very regimented and somewhat insecure. But she seems like somebody who's, willing to do whatever it takes you know, she likes to just have a good time. She likes to go out. She likes to work out. You know, she's successful in her own right. So she's in that space. One thing that stuck out to me, though, is her and Dave realized that they go to the same gym. And, you know, that was fun because it's like small world. You know, I go to this gym, you've been here this whole time, and, you know, we've been matched. And then she brings up that she, you know, dated some guy who still goes to the gym. And she calls the type of guys that she dated the Dallas douches, which is like, I guess, the typical douchey Dallas guy. I don't know what that is, but she mentions it several times, which is very funny. But she said that, you know, oh my God, I don't want Dave to know I dated this guy. And, you know, once again, if I could have said, hey girl, you know, my tip for her and for anybody else is like, don't bring drama where it doesn't really need to be. Like, Dave doesn't care. You know, we've all had pasts. Like, I met you 5 seconds ago. Like, okay, so you dated the guy from the gym. We don't need to, you know, there's some things that are need to know for your spouse or your new spouse. Here are the things you need to know. But Joe Blow at the car wash, like, does it matter? No. Do I need to bring that into a fresh, clean slate of a relationship? No. So, you know, I hope that doesn't come up, but I feel like that might come up because, you know, that's something that she's hyper focused on now. And it's an indicator that she might make a bigger deal out of things that she doesn't have to. Dave, on the other hand, seems pretty easygoing. I love that they're both like in this phase where they know who they are. By 30, 36, 37, you know who you are. The evolution of who you are is continuous, but it's not like 26 and 27 where you think you know who you are, and a lot of stuff will stick. But I think we can all agree that, you know, our 20s versus our 30s is a very different experience for ourselves, because we do change a lot and we do associate ourselves with different things at that time. I think your 20s are a great time to kind of figure it out and really go through everything you can go through to get to that point where you're like, this is who I am. So they're in that space that is just like really, really good to see and really sets the foundation for the possibility of longevity. So that is Amber and Dave. I really like them together though. I think that they have like good personalities, good energy together. He seems easygoing. Even her friends say, hey, when she gets kind of high strung on stuff, just give her a space, let her have her time, and then, you know, she'll come back to it. So even at this point, you know, we even have friends who are supporting us saying, this is how she is, just here's this advice, and, you know, live and let live and not make a big deal out of things. And I think that comes from just the maturity of being older and more settled and, you know, confident in who she is and so on and so forth. So that was good to see. So that's it. Let me know what you think. We're off to a great start with season 7. Definitely comment and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Everybody have a great week.